Hi, my name is Peter Reimer and welcome to Coach Reimer. I recently visited the Nordic Coaches Conference in Brøndby, Copenhagen, and this video is about the last day's panel discussion. Enjoy.
Is it only when, like you mentioned, problems occurs?
I think the answer is always it depends, because it does depend. Some children will quite quickly be able to just tap the ball to each other, and it'll be too boring to leave them in that phase for too long. I think some of the reasons why children give up in sport is that it's too easy, and some it's too hard. So the comfort zone has to be the comfort zone for some children, but then as they quickly start to rally,
I think that's probably a joint question to me and Adam, because I would probably also look at and ask a tennis coach and say, well, what do you see as well? For me, I'll naturally look at the feet. When I walk on a court, I'll look at their feet. I won't necessarily look a lot at the racket. I'll look far more at the feet. Of course, I will look at the racket and ball as well, because it's hugely relevant. But the tennis coaches will do the opposite. In terms of, we've been doing this now for about 3-4 months, and we haven't really found that where they were focusing so much on it. With maybe the group of players that we had, we provided the focus on it, but then once the ball's in play, they're just playing. They're not necessarily thinking too much about it. So it was trying to provide consistent reinforcement of that being something they needed to do. So when the ball was just in play and they're just playing, because they're not going to think about it then really. When it's in a point or when it's in a match, they're not going to think about it then.
So only focus on technique on the hands, whereas this project was technique on the feet. And looking from the outside, I actually thought that a lot of players were playing better tennis just because they got the focus away from what they were doing on their upper body.
Since back in 2008, we decided in Norway to start with the red-orange green ball, and been working on that, and we added the green ball up to 12 years. I got hell for many months after that, because and still, people don't believe that keep the ball on the green ball on the 12 up to 12 years old. That was really bad, and of course we always look at how to the 5 players that can manage to play the yellow ball and also do rankings. We always talk about them. So I've been trying to also now try to see if we can get rid of the ranking on the 14, because we see that if you look into all researches, why do kids do sport? Winning is coming way down on that list. So I think we have to look at this from Norwegian tennis side. I think we have to lower the pressure to make sure that they improve and try to understand the long term about this, because we see that the kids that were best at 10, they're not there even playing by the time they're 18 or 16. So I think we all have to have a look at this and think that to keep them in the game, the 5 players that can manage and maybe to play out there and do the rankings, they will always stay maybe in the game up till they're 16. But I think we have to look at the big group, and for them the rankings and to keep them in the game and to make them master the tennis skills is so important for us these days. So that's why we now introduced the long-term athlete development plan for tennis in Norway next year, to make sure that we look at the phase how to stay in the game longer. We have a dramatic drop at 13 in Norway, 10,000 kids playing under 12. By the time they're 13 and we have rankings, they don't see why they want to play anymore, because to be 82 on the ranking, that's not the motivation. So, and the other ones, they can travel, but I think we should really be concerned about this.
Personally, I think 12 and under rankings should be scrapped. I believe that money that federations use for ranking, funding, whatever it may be, should be put back into developing more, or should I say, promoting the game of tennis, especially in countries where they're losing numbers. I think that money that's gone into performance for 12s should be used on tennis for all, if we can call it that, for example. I find that the pressure situation comes from expectations. The kid starts playing the game because it's enjoyable, and then they get a little bit good, and then expectation comes along, and then the enjoyment is lost. So I believe that up until 12, well, you're still developing when you're 15, 16, but definitely those are the things that get in the way of developing a kid. And of course, specialization, early specialization is another thing that impedes good athletes. I can watch videos of players like I did of some of the players there and know who's done multi-sports and who hasn't, no matter how good they are. I can already see balance, position, posture, all these type of things straight away and see who's been developed in multi-sports and who hasn't. And when you haven't been developed in multi-sports, you don't have that ability to anticipate quickly. One thing Caroline does very well, for me, she's one of the best movers. I'm not just saying that because I'm in Denmark. You can go back to some of my presentations 3-4 years ago. Kim Kleisters, Caroline are the best movers, not from a visual point of view in terms of how fit or unfit they look, but from seeing it very early and being in position very early, anticipating it very quickly. The reaction is very fast, and that's come from, obviously, Peter Wozniacki doing a lot of skills with Caroline when she was young, and of course Kim, coming from her father Leo, where they played soccer, they played all these sports. So that's where 12 and under the focus should be. Rather put that money into making coaching available for more kids in the town than just into the select group. That's my opinion.
I just want to say, from the LTA in the UK, Karina, I want to echo your point, because I do sympathise with it. Rankings, yeah, it's a difficult one, because rankings, we don't have it at 10 and under. In the UK, we have ratings, and actually you build your rating, you get a higher rating. The majority of that is based on just playing more matches.
It's the same in Denmark.
It's the same, yeah. So
you get a ranking when you look at it.
okay. Well, yeah, we don't have the ranking side of it, but we do have because we do believe that, well, to speak honestly, in the UK, our sport is in huge decline. Andy Murray has not raised the participation levels in the UK. He stemmed the decline, but he's not necessarily accelerated growth. He has inspired more children to take up the game, but not at the rate that in previous generations we were doing. So we have a huge issue around that. So we want to encourage young children into our sport at a young age, because we believe that there's a long-term effect of that. Now, is David gone from this morning? Is he gone?
Yeah.
Okay, good, I can say. I love this presentation. But the only thing I would have arm wrestled him on was this whole philosophy around, he said about, it's about the kids, about growing them, it's about what they need, and then he said, but I don't watch doubles because I don't enjoy it. That's basically what he said. So I don't agree with that. I think doubles is at the heart of our sport. It removes pressure. That was your question. How do we remove the pressure? When you watch children, young kids play doubles, they don't look the same. They play with a smile on their face. The teamwork they have with each other. Doubles is the destination all players share. Doubles is the sport that I bet you play now as competitively, because your bodies can't take it anymore, the singles matches. But doubles is something they will end up playing if they can't stay in our sport. So why don't we expose them to it younger? Why don't we make it more team competitions? Doubles is a sport you can play in teams, 2 pairs, mixed doubles, and I really think we undersell doubles in our sport. It's like you play singles, then doubles when you get too old to play singles. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's a version of our sport that is absolutely imperative for sustainable participation, to remove pressure, for teamwork, for the social side, for fun, and I really believe as a federation, even the ITF now, I think brilliant. Your best 6 results in the ITF now of doubles, 25% is on doubles results. Brilliant, well done to the ITF. Huge move forward, that's transformational. And as a federation and as coaches, we should be encouraging our players to play doubles more. Sorry, we're all going to answer your question because you said it was to everyone.
So basically, I agree with everything said. I started out the conference a little bit controversial, so I'm also going to be it now. I think I agree with everything, but I also think that we need to look ourselves in the eyes as coaches, the parents, the players, and ask whether in reality that is it only the rankings, is it the tournaments, Is it the national squads? Is it only that is the problem? Or maybe in reality it's how we communicate about it. The expectations that we make, because what we emphasize. Because I completely agree, let's get the rankings away, but in reality the ranking is just a ranking. And it's how we communicate, it's how the parents communicate, it's how the players communicate about those rankings, about those tournaments. I think pressure is pressure, and a part of becoming good at sport is also learning how to deal with pressure. So I don't always believe that taking away pressure is always the right thing, but I understand where the questions come from, I understand the answers here, and I kind of agree.
Well, I mean, I'll be short. Twitter reply. Pressure is expectation. That's what all it is. It's expectation. Parents have expectations of the kid doing well, and that's the pressure, or the coach wanting the kid to do well. So, pressure is expectation.
To me, is at the heart of what every academy in the world should do. Your job is to help them to hit the ball better and play the game better. That's what the tennis coach does. And then as the players get better, it's lifestyle management, it's psychology. But very few people need, if they're coming once or twice a week, why teach them about nutrition if they come once a week? I don't get that. Like, it doesn't make sense. They come to you for a tennis lesson. There's 4 performance factors: physical, technical, tactical, and mental. Which are the 2 that tennis coaches need the most? Tactical and technical. Because you come to you for a game. I could go to an S&C guy for the physical. I could go to a sports psychologist, but they don't go to a sports psychologist to learn how to hit the forehand. So you need to know technical, tactical, inside out. To have a base knowledge of the physical and mental, then it's a win-win. But to be an expert in all 4, I think is almost impossible. It's almost impossible. But you should be an expert in the tactical and technical, because that's the game, and your job is to help them hit the ball better or play the game better. Next question.
A lot of time parents, they come to you because they want to win on Friday, or next week, or in 1 year. And as coaches, I think all agree here that it's all about long-term development, keeping them in the game and all that stuff. But you have that kind of conflict, and that's what
I think education is the most important, and I don't believe in any quick fixes, and that's kind of the message that I try to get across to parents and players that I talk to. So there are no quick fixes.
Every stakeholder in this. It's really important that if you look at what we try to do these days is to have like a dream, but then we put up a philosophy in a long-term athlete development plan. But then you have to educate every stakeholder in that plan to make sure that everyone understand what we talk about here. Because if they think it is just play 6 hours a day, we know what's going to happen. So it's a matter of education, and that also the parents, they are part of the plan. The coaches, the board members, the managers, everyone have to understand what's in the long-term development plan. So otherwise, it will fail.
I've had deep discussions with parents, especially Russian parents who come to Florida, and say, "Why do you want your kid to be a professional player? Why?" And well, because he wants it. What, he's 9, he knows what he really wants. All he wants to do is make you happy, mom and dad. Even if the guy was playing handball or playing the violin, and you know, I had hard discussions like that where I don't take them on as clients because they're hell bent on making their kid the next Marat Safin or whoever it may be. And when you get to the depth of why you really want your kid to be there, you understand the motives why. And then again, it gets back to your values and standards of, do I want to work with this player or not? Because their values and standards don't align with mine. And that is why I get back to why it's so important to have your values and standards, because those will always guide you in life as into what you feel is right and what you don't feel is right. And then when you get a little bit older, you have this gut feel that tells you what you should go with and what you shouldn't. So I know that's very deep, but
just to add in there, let's be really clear. If we're thinking about top 20 in the world, the professional players, you know, we always say tennis parents are nuts. The saying I always use with parents is you have to be the right amount of nuts. Okay, there's nuts where like you're nuts. that you're just doing crazy things. Almost the health of your child is neglectful, you know. But you do have to be the right amount of nuts to travel the world with 12, 13, 14-year-old children, to give up everything, their social life. I mean, I was at the French Open Juniors last week, and I'm watching Whitney, 15-year-old girl, just out of school, homeschooled, you know, Chris Everett Academy, I think, or she's watching, and then Anna Potapova and Bianca Andreescu. These are children that the parents had to be the right amount of nuts, often second generation. Andreescu, Canada, you know, that would have been Sebastian Corda, you know, these players that Peter Corda. I think we can't underestimate the fact that it's a brutal journey, but with parents, what I would say, it's the wonderful brutality of our sport. But get ready, it's brutal. Get ready, it's going to consume your time. It's going to consume your life. And they have to go through dark patches. Parents will go through dark patches where they are searching which other tournaments the other girls are playing. They're searching with a ranking. Why is that player gone up a ranking? And you have to go with them. You have to be patient with them. And you have to like that. And the lesson I would give to coaches, I have a coach who works at the Reed School, a very good academy and private. It's a private school for boys in Surrey, England. And I went for dinner with him at Wimbledon Village last week. And he said, "Simon, I'm done. I cannot handle it anymore. Parents arguing with each other, sending me texts 11 o'clock at night. I'm done. I'm gone. It's just too much." I said, "Ben, stop. You wouldn't have said this 2 years ago, but they've chipped away at you. They've chipped away at you, and you've allowed them to chip away at you, and you've actually become less resilient. The issue is with you, Ben, not with them. Parents have always been the same. They're not more nuts now than they've ever been. They've always been nuts, as long as they're the right amount of nuts. So as coaches, we need to really work on ourselves to go, how do I become more resilient to the forces that parents and the pressures are putting on me? One of the things that I've never fell out with a parent, actually. I was one of the coaches that identified Katie Swan, one of our best juniors in Great Britain. And one of the things that we did is, I want the parent to be on the bench with me every single lesson. And I enforce the parent, and then stay and watch what I'm going to do on the forehand here. Watch what I'm going to get inside the heart of the player. Watch when she loses a point. Did you see that? You see the trunk rotation there? She didn't do it that time. Did you see that? Oh yeah, I saw it. The parents didn't see it, but they feel like they're part with you. You're coaching the parent, actually, because I would rather the parent go to the tournament and say what I say, rather than make stuff up themselves. So if they sit and watch every lesson, now you say it's not healthy, not always, but most of the time, if they can sit and watch a couple of lessons a week, you can influence what they see, and therefore what they say in the car journey on the way home, the pressures they put onto their child. But I want the parent to be on the bench listening, and often I'll do the lesson talking to the parent. So they don't judge their child, because you must have had that before. The parent sits on the bench, watches the lesson, try hard, and you think, why is the parent speaking to the player? You're paying me to do it, and why are you doing it? So therefore, the best way to solve that is to talk to the parent on the bench. And then the player just enjoys playing tennis, but the coach is having the parent's having the lesson through the player. And that way you're educating, because everyone says it's important to educate the parents. Well, what does that mean? It means educating them on the skills they need to get better at in the long-term development of their game. It also means educating them in the scheduling. Well, that can be done off court. But I really believe if you give accountability to parents, so one of the things I will do is I'll do a lesson with a good player, make the parents stay and watch, talk to the parent a lot during the lesson. You see what I did there? You see the way they did a hop step? They should have done a crossover? Oh, yeah. They didn't see it. But they want to believe that they're as good as you. And then at the end of the lesson, okay, so Dad, you know, in the serve, he's really struggling with the elbow. Can you bring him down the club and make sure he does like 100 serves just from a stable pre-throw? I know that you'll get it done because you want him to improve quicker and win more tournaments. Thanks, Dad. I forgot. Then all of a sudden the parents are responsible for the development of their child in a positive way, future-focused, skill-based. So I think we have to reimagine how we work with parents. Completely reimagine it. Sitting down at the start of the term going, right, well, these are the behaviours I want you to exhibit at tournaments. Parents, they'll do whatever they want. They're paying the bill. Right, long answer, but good question. Right, next.
Well, it's very basic. I keep it realistic. Obviously, with a more professional player, it's more detailed. I always like the player to come off the court and spin on a bike and then go into a stretch routine, or if they have the luxury of having a trainer that stretches them, for example. I'm not a big ass. Ice. ice. I'm not a big ice bath guy, which a lot of people are into ice baths and things like that. However, I do use those in extreme temperature conditions in Australia with players. But basically, the cool down is for a player after practice is 1 or 2 laps jog around the court, and then with the stretch strap that I did yesterday, for example, because I want to give them realistic things that I know they're going to do when they're not with me. If we're doing 12 stretches today at practice, I know when they're by themselves tomorrow they're not going to do that. And eventually it's going to become, what happens there is poor habits. They do it sometimes, they when I'm there, they don't, so I keep it simple. So, answer that for your cool down?
Yeah, I agree. Keep it simple. I like to do some full body stuff. Not necessarily just straight after practice. It depends also on who you're working with and when they have time and stuff. But also the whole cool down thing is also developing a lot science-wise at the moment. So it's still something I'm digging into very much. So I don't know, Luke, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think cool down is basically a culture. I mean, what Alice is saying is he keeps it simple because he wants to make sure that they build the culture of doing it consistently. And if there's so much content in there, then you're not going to be able to consistently have that culture. Obviously, the more you get to build the trust, build a relationship with a player, the more you can add to that. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to stay at a really basic level where there's 3-4 things. You can add a couple more things which maybe are specific to that player or specific to those types of players that you're working with. But first and foremost, the cool down is a culture. You have to create that. Most players don't have it. Most players aren't thinking about it. Most players don't have a huge desire to have it either. So you have to first of all know why it's important and then tell them why. And then maybe it takes a situation where you're saying it, you need to do this, you need to do that, you're tight in this area, you show them. You either show them subjectively or you show them objectively with a test that you're tight in this area, you're at risk of this. And then maybe they end up getting injured, they have pain there or whatever. You do something, there's instant pain relief, and then they think, oh, well, maybe I'll do that after in my cool downs. And it's just one thing. So it's trying to find a way where they can see that you're adding value by saying, give me 10 minutes of your time and just get on a roller for a few minutes and do a couple stretches, and maybe you won't get injured. If you can show that you can add value with that, then the culture will form quite fast. But I agree with Alice to keep it simple and keep it short, build the culture that way. And then if you have time and you have buy-in, add in a couple more after that.